The Against All Odds podcast, sponsored by Oak Forest Recovery.
Welcome to the Against All Odds podcast. I am your host, Rachel. We have co-host, not car host.
Not the car host.
RJ, and we have Travis Mills,
Hello.
aka T Mills. Million.
To those who celebrate.
Yeah.
Millie.
T Millie.
You know what's crazy is 2025, it's the 15-year anniversary of the first like music project I put out.
Really?
And so I've been on eBay buying all of these things like still sealed like in the packages from like, you know, my first EP and like old tour posters and stuff.
Yeah.
Just shit that I never paid attention to when I was like, you know, an
But
idiot
it's so special.
for like young kid. And now like there's like a little bit of like sentimental value. And so like I'm trying to kind of like recollect all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you blow up on MySpace? How did
MySpace.
you? Oh, it was MySpace, right?
Well, it was
I remember
like
your pictures being everywhere. Like there were so many accounts. At one point, I think you were my like
Wait,
background.
they were
on
fake
MySpace.
accounts? Is that what you were saying though?
Oh,
They were like
dude,
all these
yeah.
Oh
fake
yeah,
accounts?
so he was like the biggest catfish. I feel like not you
Yeah.
specifically, but
Fucking-
no, like there were so
I'm like,
many
bro, you
people
walked through that
pretending
door
to
and it was
be
just
you.
not what I was expecting.
I'm
Oh,
surprised
man.
you didn't end up like on an episode of Catfish with someone using your pictures. I feel like there were so many accounts.
So I had a bunch of people that did get catfish because like off of like photos like that.
Yeah.
You also want to know what was crazy is remember that Fire Festival?
Yes.
That whole
Yeah.
scandal?
Yeah.
Dude, the dude used my, one of my photos and then I'm watching the documentary and there's like a picture of me that popped up and like no one hit me up to be like, hey, you're like clearance for this photo. But yeah, I know exactly what photos you're talking about. And the irony is that it's me holding this big Absolute bottle of vodka, like imposed that I'm, you know, that I'm naked in a bathtub. But it got a lot of people's attention. And yeah, man, I was a crazy ass kid.
Yeah.
And I was in Riverside where like no one really makes it out of there.
Right, right.
You know, you either kind of
That's where you're from? Born and
Riverside,
raised?
California. Yeah. So like, you know, you either deal drugs, which I did, you either do drugs, which I did, or you work construction and have like kids at, you know, 17, which I did not do.
Yeah. But maybe came close.
No,
okay,
thank
good.
God. I was always like, I was just like, I'm going to figure out a way to
Not
just
do
do
that.
something cool with
Yeah.
my life. And yeah, I lived on the internet.
Yeah.
Like I would spend, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day online. Just literally I would send 500 friend requests a day. Because that was the maximum, I think it was like 500 that you could send on
send in a
MySpace.
day.
Right.
And so like I would just, I made like a couple songs on a little computer that I had. And then I would just sit on MySpace and just add anyone that I possibly could. I'd go to like artists like that I loved. And then I would just add anyone that would comment. I would just send out 500 friend requests a day. And that's kind of how
Putting in
like,
the work. Yeah.
crazy to think about.
That's wild.
And it's wild that, people remember that.
I remember it. Because
What
I
year
for
is
sure
that?
remember.
Is that like 2005?
No, it was like
2004?
2008,
Yeah.
2009.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was like,
So Facebook was already...
it was, but I didn't really use Facebook like that.
Facebook was not cool when MySpace was still out. Like when MySpace
Right.
was the thing, Facebook was.
That was for college kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't go
Yeah.
to college.
Yeah.
So I was on MySpace. Yeah. So 2007, 2008, because I know in 2009 was the first year I did the Warped Tour. And on that tour, I made a Twitter account.
Okay.
Like I remember I was sitting in a merch tent and I made a Twitter account and then I read that Michael Jackson died.
oh shit. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Memory unlocked.
I don't remember
Yeah.
much else, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can remember
yeah.
weird things like that.
Were you
Interesting.
always into music, like as a kid, or was that just something that you got into?
No, I was always like, I remember listening to Nirvana on my parent, like I was in the backseat of the car with my cousin and the radio was on and it was playing a Nirvana song. And I looked at my cousin and I was like, one day I'm going to do that. And we were little kids. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, whatever this is, I want to do this. And my grandpa gave me an acoustic guitar. I wrote a song when I was 5 or 6 and I performed it at my grandma's wedding. She got remarried.
Wow.
And I wanted to like stand up there and play this song
Aw.
that I
That's so
wrote.
dope.
Yeah.
she was just telling me about that like the other week actually, and I'm like, do you have like a video? Because
I know, I was just about to ask you have footage
and
of
they're
that?
like maybe somewhere in a box in a VHS tape somewhere.
God,
but
it'd be
yeah,
so worth fighting.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just helped my mom move, and we're like finding all of these family photo albums and kind of going through everything, and it's just, man, it's a trip.
Right.
Are you close with your family? Were you close growing up?
Yeah, definitely. My parents are the reason why I feel like I even had the confidence to take a shot at doing something crazy like that. Like no one in my family has been talented like musically. No one's kind of done anything outside of the box. And they didn't know what the hell I was doing when I was online all the time. But I think as opportunities came up, they started to be like, oh no, you should definitely do this. And so like the biggest thing was after I made that MySpace profile, and it's hard for them to quantify like what success looked like on social media, because your parents don't understand that. I think it's a lot more real now. But when I was like, hey mom, my song got 100,000 downloads and I have 50,000 friends on MySpace, they're like, okay, what does that mean? But I got an offer to go play a show in New Jersey. This was like in 2009, 2010. And it was my first time kind of going to the East Coast. It didn't really pay well. I didn't have any money. So my dad pawned his watch to get me money for the plane ticket. And I went and played the show and I sold t-shirts. And when I got back, I bought the watch back from the pawn shop. Oh, wow. And so that was like, that's cool. That was really cool. And then they got to see like photos and stuff from the concert. So, but if I wouldn't have had that kind of belief, I don't think I would have had the confidence to even try.
Yeah. So they were super supportive.
Super supportive. And like growing up, my house was the house that all my friends came and hung out at. And like my dad let me turn the garage. I was in bands and stuff. And so, I had guitar amps and a drums. Like everyone brought their instruments to my house. We skateboarded. We all slept like on the floor. Like my house was the spot.
Yeah.
And like, thank God for them,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So MySpace, what was your first, like the New Jersey show was your first big opportunity for MySpace?
No, I honestly, Warped Tour. That was
huge.
2009, but I wasn't really on the tour.
Okay.
So a friend of mine had a t-shirt company, and he was like, do you want to come on the tour? And if you sell my t-shirts for me, for my company, if you work for my company, I will give you a bunk spot on a tour bus. He's like, I'm not going to pay you, but I'll pay for your bunk spot. And I was like, okay, cool. Another friend of mine who lived in the UK, MySpace friend, he owned a really big company called Baby Cakes, and they were an official sponsor of the Warped Tour. So he had like a double tent. If you've never been to Warped Tour, there's like tents that brands operate out of, but then there's like big tents that, they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
He had a huge brand in the UK, and he was like, I love your music. Why don't you play a little pop-up set at the tent every day?
Oh, that's dope.
Because I wasn't officially on it, so I wasn't going to be on a stage. And so the way that I worked it out was that he also wasn't going to pay me to play.
Yeah.
So at night, I had this like old MacBook. I would burn CDs of my EP because, I had a CD drive. So I'd buy like towers of blank discs.
Oh, my God.
I'd burn my EP onto the CD. I'd write my MySpace link on it. I'd wake up at like 6 or 7 in the morning. I'd go set up the t-shirt tent for my friend who paid for the bunk spot, count in all of his, inventory, find a good spot. I'd go back to the bus. I'd get the CDs with a CD player and headphones. I'd go walk the line and I'd just talk to people and put headphones on their head and play them songs. Listen to this. And then I'd sell them the EP for $5.
Hell yeah.
And then I'd be like, I'm playing at this tent at 2 p.m. today.
I love it.
Come.
Man. I love it.
Then I'd go back, I'd work the tent until my lunch break at 2 p.m. I'd walk to the bus, I'd grab my laptop, I'd grab my microphone, I'd grab my, my little like PA thing. I'd go to my other friend's tent, I'd set it up, and I would play 4 songs inside of this tent. And then I'd go back to work, I'd break it down, I'd hang out with the other bands. At night, I'd stay up on my computer, burn, 50 to 100 more CDs. And that's how I afforded food. That's how I like literally did anything, was selling these $5 EPs. But it was crazy because like the first day of Warped Tour, I had literally 6 people in the tent. The last date of Warped Tour, there was like 250 kids. And like, it was like packed out.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. Yeah.
And so you got to kind of see in real time
It was
What
growing.
was happening.
the
Every day.
growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So then what happened from there?
Just a whirlwind of stuff, more music. Bad record deal, got screwed over with like one of my best friends, who, when I ended up getting signed to a major label, they took like $250,000 from me.
Oh, shit.
We like went to war, bad managers, just chaos, a lot of chaos. But, and the irony was like, at the time where like all of my dreams were coming true, right? Like
How old were you at this time?
20, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How old
21
are you
years
now?
old. I'm 35.
Okay.
So yeah, when I was 21, I got a record deal with Columbia Records. And the irony that no one tells you is like, when all of your quote unquote dreams are coming true, that was like the most depressed I ever was in my entire life, because
It's so funny.
as you're growing up, I think you have this idea in your head that when you get everything you want, you're just going to be happy.
Yeah.
But then the fucked up part is like, if you do, you realize that none of it really matters. Like if you are unfulfilled and you like have a hole inside of yourself, as cliche as this is, and I know we've heard this like
It's
our
so
whole
true,
lives,
though.
But it's so true.
Yeah,
And when
it's
you
so
when you
true.
actually achieve it and it hits, it really hits.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck.
and
We've had a lot of musicians on here.
Jack
that,
is. Jack
yeah,
is the
Jack,
I love Jack.
Abe,
He's
like
amazing.
there's
Bro,
a
he said
lot.
it was like,
Yeah, there's a lot of
exact same
people
thing.
that it can really, if you're not okay with yourself inside, it's not going to matter what the fuck you have.
I'm glad that I figured all of that out early, right? Rather than like if I got a record deal maybe at 30 and I was going through all of this now, like how I would blow my life up. Because I feel like I've had 9 lives, to be honest, because
Right.
before, music and the record deal, like that was when I was like on drugs, like super crazy. And then by the time I was 20 or 21, I was already like, all right, I'm not going to do hard drugs anymore, because that completely derailed my life for like a few years.
what were you using? What did that look like?
So I think 15, I was smoking weed,
Right.
and drinking, and then ecstasy was a big one.
I feel like everyone's got to go through their
That was,
ecstasy phase.
yeah.
I went through a long ecstasy
Me
phase.
too.
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the thing is I started
Maybe
taking
together.
Yeah.
I started taking mushrooms though, because it wouldn't come up on drug tests.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I was a teenager, I had gotten God bless my parents, man. I had been grounded for probably a year and a half total, because I'd failed like 5 drug tests. So they caught me smoking weed like 5 different times.
Right.
And so I started eating mushrooms, because I'm like, well, you
Doesn't show up.
can't show up for that. And then I had like a weird thing where after they had known that I was smoking weed, they kind of like, they didn't give up, but they were just like, okay, he has it under control or something. But my family was also very chaotic, and they were dealing with other stuff behind the scenes. So like 16 to 20, it was a lot of coke. Coke, ecstasy, mushrooms, DMT. I smoked heroin twice. Just fucking wild. I went to hair school right before I started my MySpace page.
Oh, wow.
And I like moved out of my parents' house when I was 17, and I was like going to hair school because I thought I was going to be a hairdresser, and I wanted a job that, I could just look however I wanted.
Yeah.
And dude,
And some creative, probably.
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where I come from, like I said earlier, like people don't get record deals. You
Right.
don't go and become a musician. That's
Yeah.
shit that only happens in the movies. So I was like selling weed, had a little apartment at 17, and was going to hair school.
Right.
And just just doing way too many drugs. Like so a normal cosmetology, like if you go to cosmetology school, it's 1,600 hours.
Yeah.
So it should take you, if you're on top of your shit, about 1.5 years to get through cosmetology school. I think it took me like 2.5, 3 years. And I had to go to 2 different schools.
Oh, did you get all the way through though?
I did. I have
So
my
you got your
cosmetology
license?
license.
Okay.
Here's a crazy story. The day that so when you finish cosmetology school, you take the state board test to go and get certified.
Yeah.
The day that I took my state board test, it's also at like 6 a.m. I took my state board test at 6 a.m. I passed by like 8 or 9. I drove from the testing facility to the first day of Warped Tour. And
Oh, wow.
I never did hair again.
Wow.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No way.
I'm complete. See,
Yeah.
I'm remembering shit
Yeah.
right now because I don't really think about this that much. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I took the state board test and I was doing the MySpace thing like while I was in hair school. And then the day that I took my cosmetology license test,
You
state
drive to
board,
Warped Tour.
I literally went from
In-
the testing facility in like Glendale or something. Because I'm still, living in Riverside, and I drove to I think it was Pomona. It was like the first day of Warped Tour.
Wow.
Wow. Do you do your own hair now?
No, I have friends, but I do get my hair cut from the same guy who's been cutting my hair since I was 15.
Oh,
My friend
I love
Andrew.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's amazing. Andrew does hair. Shout out to you.
Shout out to Andrew.
He's like the whole. I had a mullet kind of like rat tail thing back in the day.
Mhm.
That's all thanks to him.
Yeah. He was like, this is going to work.
Yeah, now I'm kind
You
of
can
bringing
pull it off.
bringing it all back.
Yeah.
It's like the hockey player mullet.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So where's next in your story? So you're all of a sudden this big superstar, basically MySpace idol icon. And what?
Okay.
What
Well, so I was like, you were using like harder drugs.
But you took a break.
Yeah.
You go to
and-
Warped Tour.
Well, no,
you
what,
start to peel it back because music is starting to take a bigger.
no, what happened was that I got anxiety.
Oh.
It changed the chemistry in my brain.
Right.
Growing up, I didn't know what a panic attack was.
Huh.
I didn't know what anxiety was.
Right.
And when I think back, maybe I was like a little too overconfident about it because I remember I had social anxiety. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
When I go to like shows, because I was really big into, hardcore and like the death metal scene and like the local scene, the punk rock scene in Riverside. I know every time I'd go to like a backyard show or every time I'd go to a small venue, like Chain Reaction or Showcase, I'd get this butterfly feeling in my stomach. And I didn't know what it was. I'm just like, oh, that's just how I feel when I go to shows.
Yeah.
But when I look back now, it's like, oh no, you had social anxiety. I also grew up to where like when you went to a house party, someone was either you were going to get in a fight, someone was going to get stabbed, someone might get shot.
Right.
Just because
It's Riverside.
that's what happened, Like
Is that the Riverside vibe?
my first time at the movie theater,
Riverside's pretty crunchy.
Oh, okay.
my first time at the movie theater, it was a 30-on-30 fight behind the movie
Yeah.
theater, and people are pulling out baseball bats.
Right.
And I was in 6th grade, and just seeing all of that chaos, So like, I was just used to that. I remember when I moved to LA, when I got my record deal, I was living with my manager, and he wanted me to go to this like industry party. And I asked him when we were going, I'm like, yo, is there gonna be? I was like, is there gonna be like? You think anyone's like gonna like fight or like should I like bring anything with me?
Yeah.
And he's like a 40-year-old dude. He's like,
It's like, what the fuck?
he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, we're going to a Grammy party.
Leave the weapons at home, dude.
But
You're good.
dude, that was just that social anxiety.
Yeah.
But I think when I started doing cocaine, that it literally altered my brain chemistry, and it was like ecstasy, cocaine, and
I was
it was
gonna
on.
say ecstasy too for sure.
So on New Year's, I think I was 17 or I think I was 18. I went to some kind of rave party thing in San Bernardino. I didn't even like that kind of music. I went to go do drugs.
Yeah. It's the perfect place to do it.
And I was standing there with all my friends. I think I took half a pill of ecstasy, and all of a sudden, in the movies when it's like the lights are flashing in the nightclub, everything's like, and then like your vision starts. It was that, dude. It was like that horror scene from the movie when everything just starts closing in around you. And I went to the medic tent, and she took my heart rate, and I got put in the back of an ambulance.
Oh wow.
And I thought I was gonna die.
Oh man.
I had to call my parents. My parents had to come to the hospital. And that was like my first anxiety attack.
Oh,
and then I
shit.
had them every single day for the next 12 years of my life.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. Oh my God.
Did weed make you
Wow.
like that too? Or did that kind of have the opposite effect?
I had a really crazy relationship with weed. So the first time I actually got high, I was 15 and I was hanging out with the older kids, and we went to the movie theaters because that's what you did in Riverside on Friday night. You went to, Mission Grove movie theaters. There was a Taco Bell, there was a McDonald's. That's where all of the kids from all the high schools went.
All the trucks would pull
Yeah.
up.
Dude, literally. I'd smoked weed one time before. You know how they say like you don't get high sometimes on the first time you smoke?
I didn't.
I didn't get high.
I didn't
So
either.
I'm like, but I thought I was. And so I'm like, oh, cool. It's just going to be another thing like that. So I smoke. I get high. Like, my eyes are bloodshot. And I had my first girlfriend, my first love, like my first everything. She went to a different school than I did, and we got caught sneaking out like 2 weeks prior, and so we couldn't see each other for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Which was torture.
It was torture.
Yeah.
But it was like the first Friday that we could hang out, and she was like, "I'm gonna go to my cousin's football game, so I won't be able to go to the movies." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I go with these older kids. I smoke weed. I get high. I'm eating at McDonald's at the movie theaters. Some kid comes up to me that I don't know, goes to another school, and he's like, "Hey, are you Travis?" And I'm like eating, and I'm like stoned. And I'm like,
yeah.
"Yeah." And he's like, "You're dating so-and-so." I'm like, "Yeah." He's
No.
like, "She's in this senior's car at the Taco Bell drive-thru."
Oh no.
And so
And Taco Bell was like right
across
out there.
the other parking lot.
Yeah, right.
And so I walk to this to the Taco Bell drive-thru, and I'm fucking high, by the way, for the first time ever in my whole
you're
life.
tripping.
Yeah.
I have one of my friends with me, who's a big dude, and now all of these other kids are following us just to see the drama that's going to unfold.
Of course,
I'm a
yeah.
freshman. She's in some senior's car. This dude, by the way, looking back, dude, he had the coolest like 1960s or 70s restored VW van.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
You know, like the really
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
VW
Oh,
bus.
yeah.
Gorgeous.
Like candy, just
Sick.
yeah.
Water polo player, senior, like Letterman jacket, right? And I go up and I see her sitting in the front seat of that VW bus in the parking lot with this senior. And
No fucking way.
and I'm like, yo, like, what the fuck, dude? And I try to open the door, and she's like looking at me, and then the senior dude from across locks it. And I'm like trying to open the door, but it's locked, and he's looking at me, and then something in my head clicks of like, stop trying to open like the passenger door. I'm like, go to his side. And so I go to his side, and I just start fucking yanking it, like pulling on it.
Yeah.
Won't open. So then I just start kicking his VW van.
Oh shit.
And like this dude, it's like classically painted.
Yeah.
It's beautifully
just
restored.
denting
Dude,
the shit out of
I'm
it.
kicking like 2-foot dents
Yeah,
into the side of this
Oh my
dude's
God.
van. He's fucking freaking out. My friend is standing behind his van so he can't back up. He turns it on, skirts back, runs over my friend's foot. At the same time, this big lifted Bronco is coming out of the Taco Bell drive-thru. These two bros, complete like bandanas
Simi
tied
Valley
around
boys?
their head, fucking dirt bike,
Oh yeah.
like fucking
Sick
bill of their
50s.
hats are flipped up,
Yeah.
chop top Bronco, so it's no top on it. They see all the commotion as they're coming out of the drive-thru. They're like, yo, you want to fucking hop in here? They have a bat in their car. They're like, hop in here. I don't know these people at all. Me and my friend hop in the back of this Bronco
To chase down
and
the
we start
VW.
fucking chasing them, dude. Okay. They fucking get away. The dudes bring us back, and now I'm like fuck. One, I'm high. Two, I'm going through heartbreak that I've never experienced before because this pure love of like this girl that
first
you know.
heartbreak.
God, what a night, dude.
So, dude,
What a night.
I call my mom. I don't drive yet. I'm 15.
Yeah.
I call
Where's
my
the
mom,
baby?
and I'm thinking, even though I'm high, I'm thinking fast. My eyes are bloodshot red. So I call my mom, and I'm like, she cheated on me. So when she picks me up, she doesn't know I'm high because she thinks my eyes are
you're
red from
crying.
crying.
Yeah.
So it's like the best and worst thing ever. She takes me home. I get like all of our shit, like our love letters, our stuffed animals. She drives me by her house. I leave it all on her
Throw it on the
porch.
driveway.
Literally.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
All dramatic.
I couldn't smoke weed for like 6 months after that because every time I would try, I would flash back to that night. So like my first time getting high was very traumatic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It's like
So-
when you drink too much of like Sailor Jerry's and puke. And anytime you smell it, you're just
right.
I can't fucking do it.
That's why I never drank brown alcohol from like when I was a teenager.
Huh.
Yeah. And I didn't drink wine until like 6 months before I got sober.
Right.
But yeah, dude. So I had a weird relationship for weed in the beginning, and then I just became a complete pothead. And I think, you know, up until like the worst, like I smoked weed every day from essentially like 15 and a half to 32. Like I was
So it
on-
didn't give you anxiety though. So
It did, but I just,
you just
that was
powered
like me.
through.
Like it would give me anxiety, but I was just like, I was also a stoner.
yeah, I was a
So I'm like,
complete stoner.
I'm still gonna get high.
I loved weed
You
in
know
the
what I mean?
beginning, and then my anxiety got so bad that I couldn't smoke anymore. Like I wouldn't smoke if someone paid me because I would want to go to the hospital.
I didn't drink for that just never was my thing.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'd have a beer, but like I never. Sometimes I would, and then I'd feel like shit. And I'd be like, all right, I'm not drinking for a year, but every day, dude, I'm smoking at least like 4 grams of weed, at
for
least.
sure.
Yeah.
And then when I actually like became an adult and made money, now I'm smoking like 2 pounds. Like I have pounds at my house at all times.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm flying with weed on me. I'm just doing all like
living the life.
I just took it to like a whole just another I mean, not another level because we all
a lot of
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like I'd go get high with Wiz. That was a cool thing. Like when I became friends with Wiz, smoking weed with Wiz, like sick.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I got high with, this is controversial as hell now, but back then it wasn't. But like I went to Tyrese's house, and it was me, Wiz, Snoop, and R. Kelly passing a blunt.
Oh shit! No way, dude.
There's just you.
So like I
That's
got
so
to do
tight,
like
though.
I think back, but you want to know the funny thing is like I tell this story, whatever. Oh, it's so cool. Like I did cool things when I smoked weed.
Yeah.
I had a panic attack,
Oh,
and I had to have
no.
my manager pick me up 2 hours after that, and I had to fucking leave.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to make up some excuse like,
What
oh,
happened? What happened? You were just like
dude,
sitting
I just
there,
got high,
like,
and then
got
like
in your
a
head,
little
and
too
you're
high?
like,
just was like, yeah, like,
Like,
oh,
am
fuck,
I acting-
why,
am I
why am
acting
I
weird?
here? Like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, does anyone want me here? Oh, like,
I'm
like,
being
did- like,
weird.
am I- am I
the
gonna
dude in the corner?
am I gonna say the wrong thing? And then I'm
Yeah.
like, fucking, my phone doesn't work, and so I'm like connecting to his fucking Wi-Fi, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
come pick me up.
Yeah. Am I
You
just
know?
on my phone and like not
Right.
like talking to anybody?
Dude,
and
the
fucking,
social
That's how I
anxiety,
could have.
like,
Yeah, I would get real
Yeah.
fucking
So
weird.
I mean, look, it works until it doesn't. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's fun until it's not. And yeah, I was a pothead for so long. But I think that weed got me off of other drugs. But it's a chain reaction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, oh, I'm not going to do hard drugs anymore. I'm just going to smoke, and then you end up abusing weed harder than the other stuff. And yeah, I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
But I was on a chemical something ingested into my body every day from 15 to 32.
right.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where you tried to get sober before this time?
No, I had a really scary thing happen with my ear in 2018 where I thought I had a brain tumor for like 3 weeks.
Oh, shit.
So
A brain tumor.
one day I woke up and my ear would like just really hurt, and it was like incredibly itchy. And like I couldn't like
Is she on the inside? Ooh.
and like in my eustachian tubes, it felt like I was like underwater, only on my right side.
Huh. Eustachian.
My eustachian tubes. Yeah, it's like the
It's like
canals.
somebody has gone through some ear shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude. And
You know
by
what I
the
mean?
it's still
Like
not
eustachian
it's
tubes.
still not better. Like it's something that
Oh,
I've dealt
no.
with ever since 2018.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
But I saw specialists. I went to the house ear clinic, and I'm a musician, so like my
that's what I
ears,
mean.
need
I'm
your
like,
ears.
what the fuck, dude?
it's scary. And so I went to a neurologist and got like a scan done of my brain. And the first scan came back, and he called me. He's like, "Yo, I think you might have." So I stopped smoking weed because in 2018 for about a year while I was dealing with all of this medical stuff, because anytime I'd smoke, I could like hear my heartbeat and like feel it in my ear, and it would make it way more painful.
Yeah.
Because it was like you were underwater.
It was underwater,
it
and then it
probably
was
like
like
the pressure,
like I could like
inside
it,
of your
like my
Yeah.
heart was like beating in my
God
ear,
damn.
and I could feel everything pulsing.
God.
And so we did the first scan of my brain. He's like called me, and he's like, "I think you could have a brain tumor. Like we saw something on the scan."
Oh my God.
He's like, "But I want you to come back in."
How old were
And,
you?
This is 2018, so I was 29.
Okay.
And we need to get it from a different angle. So my parents are going with like,
Yeah, at this point, everyone's tripping.
everyone's going
scary.
with me. I'm like in the MRI thing, like praying to God, like if you please, like just if you come through for me, like I won't do anything ever again. Like
of course,
I promise, like, you know,
foxhole prayer.
And it came back, and it turned out I have a enlarged jugular bulb. On my right side.
What is that?
It's your vein that carries the blood to your brain. And mine is
jugular,
like
yeah.
your
The thing you
jugular
used to
bulb.
shoot drugs into.
Yeah, I did. I
You
did
used to
shoot
shoot
into that.
Jesus Christ.
I know, dude. I know. Yeah.
And your ear still works?
It still works.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to try some of that, dude.
Right here, bro. I was fucking. Yeah, real dark. Yes.
So mine's like 3 times the size of a
Interesting.
normal one.
Just on that side.
Just on my right side.
Huh.
It's not fatal or anything, but it pretty much creates pressure on the
'cause
right
there's
side.
more blood moving through.
And so it never really went away. I've gotten used to it, but like when I come off stage and I pull out my ears, like I'll have to like re-equalize my ears.
Interesting.
It's a struggle. Like it's something that I live with now, and I've just kind of.
But at least you know it's not life-threatening.
Right.
It's not life
and you
threatening.
don't have a brain tumor.
Yeah. But if anyone out there is watching who's dealt with something like this or has any advice, let me know.
Yeah.
It's something I'm still dealing with though. But yeah, I stopped smoking weed for about a year, but then I just drank more. Then I started drinking beer, like a lot of beer. And then I also gained weight. And so
Well, I saw that post. You were going
yeah,
through your
dude,
post.
like I was like 225 pounds, which for me, I've just always been like,
yeah, skinnier dude.
skinny,
Just-
kind of
yeah.
skinny fat, you know? And then the cool thing about getting sober is like I lost 55 pounds and like just completely changed my entire life. But I also think like, yeah, like fitness was a big motivation for me to get sober and to like stay sober.
Yeah.
Right.
What was like your final moment before you got sober that was like, okay, fuck, I should probably not do this anymore?
Yeah. So I was and I learned this just from hanging around a bunch of sober people and going to meetings and stuff. I'm a high bottom, right? Like I never had a crazy, like rock bottom.
Yeah.
But I would say right before July 4th, we were on tour. This is 2022 in July. We were on tour. I was drinking, having fun, and we were flying back from a show. And we wanted to do something cool. And so it was from like San Francisco or somewhere up north, just down to Orange County. So we got a PJ, and it was me, my drummer, and our videographer, and drank and fucking had all this fun and get on the PJ in the morning. And we're like, this is gonna be sick. I'm like on Instagram, and I had been working out, trying to lose some weight. Cause I was like, damn, I feel like shit. I'm sluggish, all this stuff. But every time I drank, then my diet would take a dive.
Yeah.
And so I was like, just, you know, every step I took forward, I'd take two steps back. So we're on this plane and we get up to like, I hate flying too. Like I'm not the greatest flyer. I've gotten a lot better at it, but we're on this PJ and we're up in like 30,000 feet. And I'm just like, this is sick. I'm like, this is the only way I ever want to fly. All of a sudden the pilot's like, hey, can you come here? And so my drummer goes into the cockpit and he comes back out and me and our video dude are just like looking at each other and he's like, all right, boys, so we're gonna have to make an emergency landing.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what? And he's like, they're being alerted that one of the engines is on fire.
Stop.
And I'm like,
bro, you had an engine fire?
What?
and so I'm looking out the window. We're fucking, dude,
Up
we're
there.
30,000. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so I just start fucking spiraling, dude. I'm freaking the fuck out. And so we're like flying from San Francisco. So we had to land in San Luis Obispo or like one of those other little, you know,
Little
airports, little
municipality.
dinky.
Yeah.
So like as we're coming down, there's these like hazmat fire trucks that are waiting on the runway. They're like these like yellow fucking fire trucks that are like twice the size of normal ones. There's all of these fucking cops. And like, I'm just like sitting there the whole time being like, we're either going to blow up when the plane touches down, we're going to fucking crash and burn. Like what the fuck is going to happen? And we fucking land. All of the cops and shit are around. I get off the plane. I literally kissed the concrete. And we go inside. Police are there, ambulance. They're all talking to the pilots and shit. And they come back and they're like, so there was no fire. There's a little cable in the back of the plane that was disconnected,
and
it throws
sending
the
a
code.
signal.
It throws the code. So when you're in the, but if you're a pilot, like that light's going on,
You're
you
like,
don't fucking know.
Dude, retarded.
And so they're like, so about like 10 more minutes, we got to fill out some paperwork and then we'll get back up in the air. And I was like, absolutely not. I ordered a fucking Uber, dude. I paid like $750
You're like, I'm
bucks
good. I'm
to
driving. I'm
Uber
staying
from
on the
like
ground.
San Luis Obispo all the way back down. And we stopped at this hot dog like fast food spot. I got a big ass beer. I fucking chugged it. And then the next day was 4th of July. I drank all 4th of July. And then it was like, yeah, like July 6th. And I was right back like where I didn't want to be. All of the workout and diet and stuff that I was doing wasn't working. So I'm like a hamster on a wheel. I'm like putting in all this effort.
It's like that cycle. Yeah.
Going out, drinking, being like, I'll just have a beer with dinner. Then I'm having 3, then I'm having 4, then I'm up till 4. Then I drank too much. Now I'm throwing up. Then I'm going to eat bad food. Then I don't want to do anything the next morning. It was like this cycle. And then I was like, man, I almost fucking, like in my head, I almost died. Not really. I'm being dramatic, but like I thought I was. And my first instinct was to like go and get a beer.
Yeah.
To like relax. And I was just like, I'm just going to cut everything out of my fucking life. Right. Like what happens if I just stop everything? And I called John Feldman, who's a producer that, you know, we work with. He's a very close friend. He's a mentor and longtime sober guy. He's been sober longer than I've been alive. And I was like, hey, I don't want to do anything anymore. It's like, you're sober. And I would call him for advice all the time, even before I got sober, because he always has an answer.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, can I just come to a meeting with you? Like, I just want to come check it out.
Yeah.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
I'd been around the program because I have family members that have been in treatment. I have family members who are addicts who lived on the street my entire life. I've seen every kind of thing. I've lost family members to drugs. I've lost best friends to drugs and overdoses. And I was like, let me just come and just sit in on it. He was like, cool. He's like, meet me here. So like literally like that day.
What meeting did you go to? What was the first
It
meeting?
was, I'm trying to think. It was, what was the first meeting? He had to go speak at some mix. It was like a mixed meeting. And so it wasn't one
in
that
LA though.
in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, I never go to this. He's like, but
Yeah.
someone asked me to come speak and
Yeah.
I said yes. And so I'm
That's
holding a
dope.
commitment, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went and dude, he fucking made me stand up. Cause I was like, I just want to come see what it's
Yeah, you wanted to be in the back.
So I had
I don't even
low-key-
exist.
Yeah, dude. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
stood up.
Like newcomers. You know what I mean? Hey,
yeah.
hey,
And
you
he
stood up.
like literally, because I was sitting next to him and he was like, get it, like fucking,
Yeah.
you know, like elbowed me and shit. So I'd fucking stand up, like, hey, my name's Travis. I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not an alcoholic, dude. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, one 20 hours, you know.
Right.
And
right.
I watched him speak, and dude, I cried.
Mm.
And I felt like I'd been
Just listening to him.
just listening
speak.
to everyone.
Yeah.
Like I was literally in there crying,
Wow.
and my voice got shaky, and it was amazing. I ended up seeing somebody that I knew, and she was in the program, and it was just cool. It was just cool to see. And then he was like, tomorrow, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you like chilling? It's Saturday. He's like,
Yeah.
come to this meeting. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And went the next morning to a men's meeting and stood up. And that meeting, it was mandatory for all newcomers to share.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Love it. Love
Hate
it.
to love to hate those meetings.
and
Those are the best meetings though.
yeah.
They're the
Yeah.
best because it's like, especially when you're new and you don't want to share, the only time you're going to share is when you're forced to
Yeah.
share. And then it kind of takes the pressure off too, because you're just like,
oh, dude, I
I
didn't
have
know
to
what
do
to
it.
say. And like, I'm like listening to all these people who are like, you know, I just crashed my car and I just got out of jail like 2 days ago. And, you know, my wife of 30 years left me. My kids won't talk to me. And I'm like,
I just got off a PJ.
and then I'm like,
Yeah, you're like-
hey, I gained too much weight drinking beer. And like, and I remember after that meeting, we were walking to go get a cup of coffee, and I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like a fraud,
Mm.
you know? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I feel like I don't deserve to be there.
Interesting.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
like there's people there who
Yeah.
like deserve it. And he's like, all right, well, let me ask you a question. He's like, what is the most addict thing that you've ever done? I was like, well, I smoked heroin twice when I was 18. He's like, I don't know many non-addicts
Yeah.
that smoked heroin. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude, you have a fucking point. I'm like, yeah, this is.
I always say that. I'm like, normal people don't usually do heroin or crack or any of those things, you know?
It's also, it's like, you know, the drugs and like those outside circumstances those are symptoms,
Right.
right? But like, I feel like you know, being an addict, dude, or being an alcoholic, like it exists in those internal feelings, right?
Oh,
That,
dude, I'm an
like,
addict in every
I'm not
sense of the
good
word.
enough,
Yeah.
Right.
In every
Or-
area.
Right. And it's your internal was just as bad. Right.
100%. And that's, I think, and then someone else told me something really cool too. He's like, with AA, take what you like
Leave
and leave the
rest.
rest. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense to me. And I love this. And that's what made me excited about going to those meetings.
Right.
Right. But I'm an addict in every sense of the word when it comes to work, when it comes to being a consumer, when it comes to food, when it comes to literally everything.
Yeah.
Because that's just how that's how my fucking brain works. And I wish it didn't,
Yeah.
you know, but like if I see something that's really good, like I don't just want one French fry. I want
All of
fucking
them.
all of them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like if I find a cool t-shirt, like I don't just want to buy the one shirt. Like how many do they have in
Yeah.
my size in
Yeah.
stock? Because I might never find this again.
Yeah.
For sure.
I might never
Yeah.
find this again.
Yeah.
You know, or like it's just it's everything, you know. And I had it with relationships, I had it with money, with drugs, with substances, with everything in my life. And then emotional sobriety is like a big thing, dude. I never understood like, why am I a hothead?
Right.
Why do I think that everybody is out to fuck me over, which is what caused so much pain and distress when I got signed and when I was supposed to be having the most exciting time of my life, right? Why was I miserable and picking fights with everyone and blowing up these amazing opportunities? Like I self-sabotaged better than anyone's business, you know? And I look back on that period of my life and I went from having so much promise and like a really cool opportunity to not making the most of my potential when I could have, because I was too preoccupied with partying and getting fucked up and girls. I didn't care about making music. So I had this record label who had spent all this money on me. I was like, hey, like, let's make an album. And I just went to the studio and smoked weed all day.
Right.
And invited people over to hang out and wanted to look really successful without actually doing the work. And then I find myself, you know, being 27 or 28, bankrupt,
right,
having to literally sell my shoes to be able to pay for food.
right,
And, you know, I'm selling clothes that I was buying on tour to like literally pay for dinner that night, you know, and I had to completely like abandon my ego and go and find other opportunities to kind of rebuild my life back up.
right.
And then I was still like smoking weed, fucking up those opportunities. You know what I mean? And look, I'm going to fuck up more opportunities.
100%.
I'm going to,
For sure.
you know, but I think now the coolest thing is like, I have people that I can call who, dude, they don't work in music. They don't care about any of this shit. And I'm just like, hey, temperature check. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this. And am I crazy? What should I do?
Right.
Go help somebody else out, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like go do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. Sick. Or like pause while agitated.
Right.
That's a hard one.
Dude, I want to get it tattooed like on every orifice of my body because I need to like implant that in my brain, you know? Like, can I just take a fucking second? Because
It's
that's
one of the
not how
most
it works.
useful.
It truly
tools.
is.
It's
It's
like,
such a simple thing, but it's so fucking hard sometimes, you know?
yeah.
I think that's so like
It's
I
my
don't
go-to. I think it's probably my
Yeah.
number one thing.
Oh, yeah.
pause while
Yeah, I
agitated.
just pause, man.
Yeah.
I just, every time I'm just like, I'm gonna not make any decisions right now.
That is, I
None.
think, the biggest. And also, like, I think everything from my life that's been great has come from me just taking action.
Yeah.
Don't think, just do it. And you'll
Right.
figure it out later, right? Because I think if you're successful, like, you kind of have to have that trait,
For sure.
right? Like, if anyone sat back and thought about the consequences that could possibly happen from this
Yeah.
action, like, well, you could invest this money or you could lose. No one would do anything.
Mhm.
You got to kind of have that screw loose, but it will come back and bite you in the ass in your personal life and all of
yeah.
that stuff, like your health and your wellness and your mental, if you don't have those kind of tools. But emotional sobriety is what I struggle with the most today.
Right.
Like if I don't, I'm not going to go and drink again, you know, God willing, if everything,
Yeah.
if it goes how, you know, how I'm planning, I don't want to go smoke weed again. I don't want to do a hard drug. I don't want to do any of that, but I want to be able to be present and be a good person to be around.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Have you been through the steps?
Yeah. I'm like, I'd say I worked them I probably could have done it better. But yeah, I did. And that was awkward.
Yeah.
Like sitting down in a
It's a very
coffee
vulnerable...
shop talking about, I'm like, what the and then getting them like praying in front of like a coffee, like, what the fuck am I doing, dude?
Have you always had a relationship with God? Like,
Yeah.
when was that hard for you?
No. So when I was growing up, I resented it, but looking back, it is the biggest blessing in my life. But I went to a Christian school.
Mm.
And so one of my classes growing up
Is that
was,
why you resented it? You think?
yeah, I hated it,
Yeah.
dude. I got a grade on the Bible.
Right. Right.
A, B, C, D, E. Like, what do you F on the Bible?
Yeah.
How do you tell a kid, like, you know? So like I read the Bible 3, 4, 5 times before I was in 9th grade.
Wow.
You know, like I got tested on the Bible. The great thing about that was that they had such an emphasis on education. So I feel like, my reading level, like all of that stuff was amazing versus going to just a public school in Riverside. Like I can see the difference. Like I could, I'm very blessed for that. And like creative writing and all of that stuff, history, like we had a very great academic program, but
asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
I'll tell you the biggest thing that made me turn my back on religion was I had a friend from elementary school into middle school and the beginning of high school. And she had lost her dad when she was 3 to a heroin overdose. She was in bed with him while he died. And so she was like laying with him for hours while he was dead.
Jesus.
Her mom was on drugs, abused her, tortured her, shaved her head, all of her hair off. And she was a bigger person. And so she felt like one of the dudes.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say Tosh was one of the homies, into punk rock, played bass guitar, wrote songs, skateboarded, rode dirt bikes with us. And Tosh went to go live with her grandfather, while we were in elementary school and stuff like that. He ended up passing away, and her grandfather was like her dad, right?
Yeah.
Became like her dad.
Yeah.
And he was a great guy and like created an amazing life with her. So then she had to go live with her sister. Her sister was married to an alcoholic who was also abusive. 6th grade, she's 200 pounds, shaved head, looks like a dude, doesn't believe in God. The cool thing about the school we went to was like PE was an option. You didn't have to do phys ed. So like you could do music, like you could take a MIDI, you could do MIDI class. So like me and Tosh, like we did the music class.
Yeah,
we had a
of
band
course.
together.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we wrote songs together. The cool thing about her sister's house is they had a lot of land in Riverside. And when her grandfather died, he had a bunch of dirt bikes and stuff. So we'd go to Tosh's house,
Just crush it.
fuck around,
Yeah,
like that was the thing. Tosh was smoking weed before me. And that always kind of freaked me out because, we're 13 and Tosh is getting high and I'm like, I'm good. Like, let's just hang out. So going into 9th grade, we were in 8th grade. Our school asked us to write a paper on what God meant to us. And they're like, be as honest as you want. Tosh didn't believe in God because of, look at her fucking life,
Death,
right?
loss,
Like you're in 8th grade and
abuse.
Yeah. So we even we can be as honest as we want. Yep. So she writes a paper that she doesn't believe in God. Gets kicked out
Kicked out of school. Really?
So this is going right before summer, before you go into 9th grade.
God, I feel like that's so against. Like,
Yeah, they're like, be
Right?
as honest
It's like
as
a
you
bait
want.
and it's a bait and switch, dude.
Yeah.
It's a bait and
Right?
switch,
Yeah.
right? Hey, write about how you feel. Be as honest as you
Right.
want. You're honest. Like,
Wrong.
Yeah,
Wrong.
But if
honest.
anything, like from the Christian perspective, that's somebody that you are trying to lead to God,
Right.
correct.
not, you know what I mean? Like,
So
not kick out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
she gets expelled.
Right.
And she had been like cutting and stuff like that prior. And so that summer, she tried to overdose. So she takes a bunch of pills and goes into the hospital. Doesn't die, thank God. Her sister wouldn't let me see her. So like once a week she'd call me from the hospital. She was on suicide watch. It was crazy. 9th grade, she had to go to the public school, the public high school. That school, PE was mandatory. She's a girl who's presenting as a guy who now has to go into a female locker room right? And like that was really tough for her. So she started skipping class, and she would just call me and just be like, I fucking hate this school. I fucking hate all this. And I'll never forget, dude. She called me one day after school and told me about the whole PE thing, and she was trying to get it, and they had made her go and do it. And then she's like, hey, don't tell my sister, but I found her husband's gun.
Oh.
And she's like, I've been like fucking around with it. And I was like, okay. And she's like, just promise me you won't tell my sister. She's like, swear on everything. I'm like, all right, I promise. The next day at school, one of my friends came up to me and was like, yo, did you hear about Tosh? And she shot herself.
Oh, fuck.
So yeah. So dude, that was, I mean, I was like fucking 15.
Right, yeah.
I don't even remember how old I was. 14, 15. So my mom pulls me out of school, takes me to our church so I could go talk to the pastor. I never had a friend who died before. I'm like, you know, and you want to talk about like guilt, dude. Like I felt like it was my fault, you know? So I go into this pastor's office and he's talking to me and he's like, you know, she went to hell, right?
What?
And I'm like,
oh my God.
what? He's like, yeah, like, you know, if you kill yourself, like you go to hell, you don't go to hell. And dude, that was it for me. I was like, fuck you, fuck you. I got kicked out of the school that I was going to 6 months after that.
Right.
I completely just was like, I hate God. I hate everything about you people. I like, fuck you.
Right.
And just start smoking weed, like, you know, and, yeah, dude, that's what made me, you know, kind of rebel. And I think just looking back, like, dude, I was just a kid who lost one of their best friends.
Right.
I was
That's so heavy.
just
and
as
at
lost,
that age,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I blamed all of these people because I'm like, well, if you never kicked her out of here, this wouldn't have happened. This wouldn't happen. Then I had so much guilt. Like I should have.
You guys would have been more accepting.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
And
you know,
loving.
and then you're also carrying around like, I should have fucking called her sister. I should have gone over to the house. I should have done all this stuff. So yeah, dude, that like just led me down like the complete fucking opposite. You know, I mean, I got like a pentagram tattooed on my chest that I'm getting lasered off. Like I was just like, you know, fuck religion, fuck Christianity, fuck all this stuff. And I think,
yeah, you're like, if that's what this all means,
that's not what I want. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think going to meetings and stuff has made me more spiritual than ever and like brought me back to God. And I think I needed to go through all of that, you know,
for sure.
And yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I'm so grateful that I have that background because I do know the stories from the Bible. Like, I know God. Like, I grew up, and so I just have I just feel like I have a deep understanding, which is great. And you know, I'm not perfect, but yeah, getting sober definitely brought me back.
Right.
I know we took a long.
No, it was good.
No,
man.
yeah,
It was good.
turn there, dude.
Yeah. No, I thought it was great because it's just, you know, do you believe in God? And you walking through that story, I mean, that's, you know, that's like
And
the
that's
dark
a lot
night
of
the soul, you know what I
people's-
mean? So you got to go through these things.
Yeah, and I've never like really talked about like, yeah, I've never really talked about that, dude.
Yeah.
But you know, I was always like such a huge,
It's a beautiful story though.
such a huge mental health advocate, you know, and like I've lost, just so many friends to kind of suicide and stuff like that. But that was, I mean, dude, I experienced that at 14. How old are you in, you know, 8th grade? It's like,
Yeah, like 13, probably like 13. Yeah. Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy.
So, but you know, like that got me out of that school. I graduated when I was 16, which then like that was, I think, the catalyst of a lot of like rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? I was like into punk rock, into like, all right, fuck everybody. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And just chaos.
Yeah. I think things happen how they play out how they're supposed to, even when they fucking suck. And, you know, sometimes I had the same thing. I grew up like Christian Catholic in New York, and then I didn't believe in anything for a really long time. And sobriety also brought me back to like my own relationship, right? Because I was like, I'm going to hell for everything that I'm doing, so might as well not believe anything. But I think that everything that we go through, like if you didn't have that rebellion stage, and who knows where you'd be now, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it just makes you, well, yeah, it makes you appreciate knowing God, right? And being spiritual,
Right.
because you look back and you're like, damn, dude, I was just lost.
Yeah.
For
I was
sure.
lost.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you're trying to fill this void with substances,
Mhm.
with experiences, with people, and it's never gonna work.
Right. Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
Right.
God, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
What
I
is
just feel like there's such an
yeah.
interesting, like, I don't know, I'm sorry. It's just,
No, go.
it's like that fascinating sort of, I don't know, like juxtaposition between, you know, you've got this entity, the school, religious in nature. It's supposed to be like good,
Accepting.
moral,
Right.
right? Like that's what they represent. And then the stories within that, you look at this human being that was, you know, she was dying
Yeah, obviously
You know what I
hurting.
mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
obviously.
because of something that's supposed to represent like good and moral principles, right? And to walk through that and then go through the journey that you went on, which sent you so far out to bring you back. I mean, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to like know her, to have known her.
Mhm.
I don't think I would be like, she taught me how to that I could even write a song. Like she had a binder of songs that she would write, you know, for our band. And I know when she died, her sister gave that to me.
Mm.
And so like, it was really cool because like I got to like study like
Yeah.
it, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, like a big reason why I even like wanted to keep playing music and like doing stuff like that was because of our like little thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
What has sobriety given you back today in your life?
Oh man. I'm able to show up for the people in my life in a way that I feel like I haven't. I'm able to communicate and like talk about things that I never have, right? Things that I just would like kind of shove down. My grandmother had a really bad stroke and brain aneurysm in Thanksgiving, like November. And it came out of absolutely nowhere. And the fact that like I got to be there every single day, every single night, and like kind of run point, you know, with my mom for my family. I shared this in a meeting, but like, yeah, if I was, I don't know, drinking or stoned, like I'd probably be like, oh, it's too much stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Like I remember like when my dad's mom died, I was doing cocaine at her memorial. You know, like I was in the bathroom doing cocaine while we're having a memorial for my grandmother.
Relatable. I've
That's
been there.
yeah, that's fucked up. You know? And like I'm able to like sit it was crazy because she was trached, my grandmother in November and like on a tube, like a ventilator. And so she's like not there, and we had a pretty critical day where she had been on life support for, you know, the intubation tube for a couple days, and the doctor's like, well, we're going to pull it out and she's either going to breathe on her own or she's going to die.
God damn.
So it was me, my mom, and my uncle in the room, and like standing there. And I think I would have been too much of a bitch if I wasn't sober. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 I would have been I don't know. I was able to be there and like be completely present and like hold my family and be like, let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like I was able to pray, you know, with her and like talk to her before. And they pulled the tube out and it was like crazy because you hear her like can't breathing and you want to,
oh my God.
You know what also helped me is like the serenity prayer,
Right.
right? It's like, let me control what I can. Let me understand what I can't. Like,
Right.
I need to know what I can and cannot control, and I need to like leave the rest up to God. And like when you hear her struggling to breathe when the tube comes out, all you want to fucking do is like go there and fucking breathe and let's go, let's fucking breathe.
Yeah.
And like I had to stay planted in my feet, you know, 2 feet away from her bed and like hold my mom, and my uncle. And thank God, like after struggling, she starts breathing.
Wow.
But like I don't think I could have done that without saying that shit over and over and over in my head.
For sure.
You know, hey, you have no control over this.
Yeah.
You got to let, like, she's a fighter. If anyone can do it, she can.
Yeah.
Let go, let God.
Right.
And it was a beautiful thing. You know, like we got to be there and spent Thanksgiving night, got to go bring her food at the hospital and like tell her crazy stories about the whole thing that she doesn't fucking remember. And, you know, it's great. And what's insane is like 6 weeks before that, we were on tour, we were on the Avril Lavigne tour, and it was the biggest tour I've ever been on. Which was so cool. The fact that I get to do all of this at 35 again. Like I truly feel like I have a second chance.
What was that tour like?
Insane, dude.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, just like 20,000 people.
Yeah.
That's
every single
wild.
night. It's like,
So
you know, your
dope.
biggest dreams. And I get to be present every single night. Like I get to be on stage. I get to have fun. I get to be with my friends. I get to like enjoy every single second. And I'm not going to be hungover. I'm not going to throw up. So we were playing Jones Beach in New York. You know, like it's on the water, gorgeous venue, like beautiful bucket list shit. So I flew my dad, my mom, and my grandma out to that show, and she got to come to New York, and she got to go to the show, and we watched, you know, the entire night.
It's amazing.
And so she got to like have that, and she just kept talking about it. Little do we know, like 6 weeks from then, from her standing at, you know, in the crowd at Jones Beach and backstage and hanging out with everyone, she was going to be on life support. And like, it just shows you like how quick things can change, you know? And I'm like, man, I'm just glad like I'm able to kind of be present and like be there for my family when things get tough, instead of running away, drowning out, you know, reality.
Just being fucked up.
Yeah.
Just
like,
being fucked up.
Oh man, I need a beer. Like, oh fuck, this is tough. Like, all right, you guys stay at the hospital. I'm going to go and I'm going to get some beer. I'm going to go in my car and smoke weed.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And then I come in and my eyes are all fucked up, and you know, I smell like, and the nurses are like, what the fuck, you know, which like, dude, no shade to anyone, but I know for me, I'm glad that I can just be Travis.
Yeah.
And you know, if I want to cry with my mom in the hospital, like I can cry, because I was not. I mean, you guys know this. Like,
for sure.
You're fucking numb. And for anyone listening, it's weird. Like when you get sober,
everything comes back.
Everything comes back. It's crazy. And when you guys stop smoking weed, do you have crazy dreams now?
Yeah, I have the most insane dreams.
I haven't smoked weed since. I mean, it's been a long time.
But I remember when I remember.
Dude, I haven't
Decades.
dreamt. I haven't had dreams for half of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Every night now is
crazy
like
dreams.
It's still it's a fucking.
It's like when
movie.
I take Benadryl. If I take Benadryl, I have like the craziest.
The melatonin.
It's so
like acid dreams. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so vivid, and like I mean, when I was just getting fucked up, I would just go to sleep, black,
wake
and
up,
then just wake up.
Yeah.
Right.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Right. Huh.
How did you start how long have you had this band for? Girlfriends, right?
Yeah, we started at like December of 2019.
Okay.
Was when the idea came. It was like because I had taken a hiatus from my first from my solo project for about like 3 or 4 years at that point. I just didn't relate to the songs anymore. You know, I was a young kid and I was singing about my biggest t-shirt that I ever sold says smoke, drink, and never sleep. You know, like on every album cover, it's like me with like my first EP. It's like me with like 240s and like a blunt.
That was the vibe
And, like,
those days, dude.
you know, and,
it was
like-
iconic then, you know.
So good.
My other
dude.
one is like just me and like a cloud of smoke,
Yeah.
and like, you know, all my songs are just about getting fucked up.
Yeah.
And
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
yeah, I just like, you know what I equate it to? It's like when you look back at your 6th grade yearbook photo and you're like, what the fuck was I wearing? Why did I have my hair like-"
Yeah.
But dude, picture day in 6th grade, you felt like the shit.
Yeah.
You were
Like,
on
you
point.
had your
Yeah,
outfit
yeah.
laid out the
Right.
night
Yeah, yeah.
before. Like
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
showing up like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing it.
You were
Yeah.
good.
You know, and now like, so that's what I equate that first era to. It's like, you know, I
Right,
reached a
right.
point where I was just like, dude, yeah. It's,
Well, you grow and you evolve, you
100%,
know?
yeah.
I look at stuff that I, like even content that I made a year
Yeah.
ago, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? You know, we change and then you just morph and you grow.
I think I've fallen back in love. Like I have allowed myself to really, I'm like so grateful for it and like so much more appreciative too, that like now that I have space from it,
Yeah.
like I don't have to get on stage and sing those songs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like to like worry about like rent or like food or like a car payment. Like I don't have to like go up there and pretend to be someone I'm not.
Right.
So now I can like look back on it and just have so much like,
Mm.
man, that was so fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, man, I was crazy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
Appreciate it.
yeah,
Appreciate
because
it.
for
Yeah,
so long, you know, when I was like, when it wasn't working, when I lost my record deal, when I fucking was literally about to file for bankruptcy, you fucking hate it because you're like, this thing that I put so much of my life into has brought me this. This is causing me to like lose it all. So like, fuck you. I fucking hate all this. And then people are like, hey, dude, sing that song, dude. Team. And I'm like, fuck this. Fuck that. I hate that. I hate the music. And like, yeah, now I love it. And what I didn't realize then too, it's like people who enjoyed that, like when that comes, who still do, you can't,
I still do.
but you can't like alienate those people. Like you can't put it down because they have such good memories attached to those things to where like it brought me a lot of pain and maybe shame and like hurt and like caused a lot of chaos in my life that when I was in the middle of it, I wanted it, like the religion thing, dude. I wanted to turn my back on it and run as far as I possibly could.
Right.
And now that I have space and like time and I get to look back on it and just, that's why I'm collecting all of it now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, dude,
right.
I wish I kept every
Yeah, yeah.
single t-shirt and like every fucking tour laminate, every like little mixtape that I hand wrote on.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I had everything. And there's like little things that I find along the way, like when I was cleaning out my mom's garage. But yeah, I get to like collect those things now and like look back on it really fondly because the band, you know, it's when we started it, I was like, I really miss writing. And I have this, like these things that, you know, I want to get out of me, but I want to do it completely different. And I was in bands before I had a solo project. The only reason why I ever started T Mills was because everyone in my band from high school had DUIs. So I was 16 driving everyone because they were all like 19, 20 with DUIs and couldn't fucking drive. And so they couldn't come to band practice. And so I was working harder than everybody else in my
So you
band.
were like, oh, fuck it. I'm just
And
doing this
so
on my
I got a
own.
MacBook when I was 17 and I was like, oh, what's this thing called GarageBand?
Garage.
Okay,
band.
cool. I'll just do this by myself. Fuck
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
You know? And that just one thing after another. And so, yeah, and it's cool. Like the band now, it's, dude, been able to do just crazier things that I thought that part of my life was over.
Yeah.
You know, like I looked at it like I failed. Like my dream it's done. I'm washed up. Like, oh, like it's like that high school football player, you know, who's watching like the Super Bowl. Is like, yeah, well,
living the glory days.
Senior year, you know, I
you
threw the
seen me when I was
60-yard pass, right? But and now the fact that like I get to be present and like really enjoy it, and I don't know, I get to tour with people that I have known from the 2009 Warped Tour, and you know, Warped Tour is coming back this year.
Yeah.
2025. And we're playing all 3 dates.
That's so exciting.
It's like it's
full circle moment.
Full fucking circle, dude. Like 16 years after I hustled and like sold burned CDs to get like a little tent spot, we get to play the 30th anniversary, you know, as a new band. With just so much history, and
that's so dope.
Yeah, man, it's like full circle, you know.
Oh yeah.
That's so fucking cool.
What was it? What was the show that you guys had? What was the show you were showing me yesterday?
Ghosted.
What is that?
Well, that was the older one, right?
Yeah. What's crazy is like,
because you've hosted a couple shows.
Yeah, a few TV shows, and all of this is so unexpected. But look, all of these,
how did that?
All of these relationships, all of these opportunities came about from those T-Mills days, because you know, I would do interviews with MTV and stuff. So I made relationships when all of, I guess, like that, the plane crash that was my career happened, right? As my career is just nosediving, right? Because here's the thing. Here's how it goes.
Why was it nosediving? I'm
going to tell you how it goes. Yeah. So you get a little bit of call it virality, which back then it was like way different than it is now. Like if you had something go viral, you know, you had momentum, you could expand upon it and go tour and like you could do really cool stuff. So you do that, then you build a foundation, then you get a record deal, then you start doing this stuff. If you just party and just want to fuck girls and do drugs like, you know, and you don't keep making good stuff.
Yeah.
All of that attention
starts to just fizzle.
Goes away.
Yeah.
But when you're in the middle of it and your ego is like, dude, I gotta like, look at this. I got a record deal. Oh, I can, dude, I didn't grow up with a lot of like, oh, I can finally afford to go do, oh, I got money to do this. Oh shit, look at this. You lose the focus of what got you there in the first place. Right. And you just think, they'll buy tickets. Oh, I made 15 grand in one day selling merch, like dropping a t-shirt. Oh, cool. I'll do that forever. Yeah. I'll just keep doing that. And then you put out the t-shirt a couple years later and you're like,
nobody buys it.
Wait, there's only $1,000 this time. Oh, I only sold 100 tickets this time. Oh, now I'm selling 30 tickets and I got to cancel these shows because there's another artist that has come out who everyone loves.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you look up one day and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Goddamn.
Right? I had to completely abandon my ego. And I think I've always, you know, as crazy and as, I don't know, as many screws loose as I've had, right? I think deep down I'm a great person. I think a lot of addicts are, right?
Oh,
like purest of intentions. You just get lost.
Yeah,
And
like, swayed,
but I've always been able to have great relationships, and you know, I think when everything kind of crashed, I had a great opportunity where Apple Music was launching, and Zane Lowe, who runs it, I'd known him because he played my records when he was on BBC One. They were doing this thing where they wanted artists to kind of come in and just do 20-minute little radio breaks, and I was like, okay, cool. And so I went in for like a test, and they had heard my test, and they called me and they're like, have you ever had a radio show before? I'm like, no. But
what was a radio break? Like what was
they were bringing in like celebrity guests to be like, you know, this hour on Apple Music, you're going to listen to blah, 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 and Beyonce. And that right there was Britney Spears. Yeah. And here you go. You know, hey, it's Travis. Hey, it's Travis Mills. Subscribe to Apple Music. And this is in 2016, by the way. So this is like literally Apple Music was launching to compete with Spotify. Because everything was on the iTunes store prior to that. Streaming was it was really getting popular. And they called me after my test and they were like, have you ever had a radio show? I'm like, no. Mind you, I've been doing radio interviews for my music
forever.
For the last,
Yeah.
6 years. That's all I did. When you put out a record, you go to a radio station in this town, you go and do radio tours.
Right.
So I'm used to sitting in front of people talking on a microphone. That's what I did to promote my music. They're like, we want to give you your own show. And I was like, okay.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help.
And so I had a request show on Apple Music the day that it launched. And at the time, my ego was still struggling with this. People are going to think of me as a failure. I'm not an artist. I had to go get a real job. And now I'm about to have other musicians on my show who
you've got to fall back.
This new artist is going to come on who just got a record deal. And I'm going to be asking him questions. So I did it for 6 months. I had another tour, my last tour booked as T Mills. And I quit. I walked away. I did it for 6 months and was like, hey guys, this is cool. I'm going to go tour. I'm going to go relaunch my whole music thing. It's going to be bigger than ever. Peace.
Bye.
Not like that dramatic, but I got to go on this tour, you know?
Yeah. At least in your mind, it was that dramatic.
Yeah.
And by the way, I wasn't, the money was, it was not a lot of money for the radio thing. It was kind of, but it was income. Right. And I was like, I'm going to go on tour. I'm going to pitch this other TV show. I'm going to do all this cool shit. I'll see you later. Well, I developed a TV show that didn't get picked up. I put out the music that nobody cared about.
Wait, what was the TV show?
It was this idea. It was like a Tosh.0 meets like a Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, but for meets TR, for our generation.
Okay.
And pitched it. Nobody bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Tour didn't sell. No one cared about the music. I had a manager who was managing me for music who had just gone into this company and took me to dinner and was like, look, I don't believe in you as an artist. And I was like,
damn.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. Why are we here?
But she was like, but I think you have an ear for talent and an eye for talent.
Oh.
And I think you can find things before a lot of other people can, because I'm a student of the internet. I grew up online and on MySpace and doing all that shit. She's like, so I'll tell you what, we'll manage your little thing. We're not going to give you all the resources, but we'll do the administrative stuff.
Uh-huh.
But if you find an artist that you love, bring it to me and we'll sign it together. And I was like, cool. Okay. Literally a week later, I'm in my little back house, little shitty studio. And I'm on Twitter and I find this kid, Little Peep.
Oh, Peep.
And I'm like, yo, this is sick. Follow him. 1 minute later, check my DM. Peep, how the fuck do you know who I am? I'm like, I like this song that you just posted. And I'm like, hit me up whenever. Put my number. Literally 2 minutes later, my phone rings FaceTime. It's Peep. And I'm just like, yo, dude, what's up, man? And so we start talking. I'm like, where you at? He's like, Long Island. I'm at my mom's house. I'm like, do you want to come to LA?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah. Hang up the phone. Call the manager.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I found him.
well, I'm like, can you buy me can you buy a plane ticket right now? She's like, for what? I'm like, I'm bringing someone to your office tomorrow. I'm like, just get me a plane ticket. Pays for a plane ticket. Fly out Peep. A whole bunch of chaos ensues for a few weeks. We end up signing him. So then I'm like, cool. All right. I don't have the Apple Music show because I left. My TV show didn't sell. I'm not a musician anymore. No one believes in me. But I just found my favorite artist ever who reminds me. So Peep was a T Mills fan. which is
God,
how
interesting.
he even cared to talk to me.
Yeah.
So we signed Peep. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to be a record executive now. Right? Like, this is sick. Put all of these opportunities out there that were lined up for me, like Fashion Week. Like, I built him a studio, like found him a house. Me and him got matching grills, like all this stuff from behind the scenes, which is weird for me because I'm used to like being in front, but I was super happy to just be behind the scenes. He makes a record. Now this is I'm jumping ahead like a year and a half. He makes a record. And before the record, I call Zane from Apple. I'm like, you need to sit down with this kid. I'm telling you, da, 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 da. He's like, cool. Now all the behind the scenes, I'm getting pushed out from the project. So like everything that was agreed upon, I'm literally like, and by the way, they're paying me like $3,000 a month as an A&R, right? And so that's what I'm paying my bills with.
Yeah.
And I'm just like trying to make shit happen. They're pushing me out of this whole thing. And like my ego was like, good. Cause also Peep is one of my best, like becomes like, so I become super close to him. I love him. I want the best for him. I see so much of myself in him. He was also struggling a lot. But at the same time, he was way bigger than I ever was.
Yeah.
Right? So has so much more opportunity. And so I'm trying to like help my friend. I'm getting fucked over by this woman who I brought him to. So I'm trying to like juggle the ship. My ego's bruised because I'm like, she's taking all the credit for this.
Right.
Right. And I connect him with Zane. Zane does an interview. The next day, he passes away from an overdose. Like, devastating.
Yeah.
Fucking awful. Zane calls me because he's just an incredible human. He's like, hey, dude, come by the office today. I'm like in his office at Apple Music, just fucking crying. We're going to do this whole thing. Like, so like we do this beautiful like tribute, whatever. A little bit of time goes by and Zane just keeps checking in with me. He's like, hey dude, let's go get lunch. Hey, let's come by the office, do this. He's like, hey, I want you to have your own show at Apple. It's not a request show. I want you to have, authority and like do it your way. This is the end of 2017. And he's like, so like, how about January of 2018? You develop it, you do it and that. So I was like, cool. Completely abandoned any sense of an ego that I ever had and was like, I'm not going to self-sabotage anymore. I'm just going to take this opportunity.
Right.
And it was fucking amazing, dude. Like I got to do something that put me in the room with incredible artists who a lot of who I, people that I know, make incredible like radio shows, right? Like incredible content. And my Apple Music show has been on since 2018, like still to this day.
Yeah.
And I would have completely fucked that up if I was like, I want people to see me as this thing, and like so many great opportunities have come from it. And then, it's like all good things happened at once. I was dealing with the death of my friend, which was tough. I got fucked over from that whole situation, and that whole thing turned out so toxic that I completely walked away from everything. I was like,
yeah, fuck that.
It just like such a fucking mess, that I just dipped out and had to kind of start over again. And then after the Apple show came on, literally a couple months later, MTV hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to host this show? And I was like, well, I just started doing this Apple show. Now I got to go fly. How the fuck am I going to do this? My anxiety steps in. I'm like, oh fuck, someone's going to be mad at me. Someone's going to be mad at me.
Yeah.
But I figured it out. And then we shot a season of that.
And that was
it's called Ghosted.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And then it starts airing. And then at that time I was like, man, I miss writing songs. I start writing songs for other artists, have a lot of success in that. I'm like, I want to start the band. It's December 2019 now.
Yeah.
And so we start the band. I'm like, all right, we did like a couple songs for Girlfriends at the beginning of 2020. I'm like, hey, I got to go shoot season 2 of Ghosted now. I'll see you guys in 6 months and we'll just pick this back up whenever.
Yeah.
I fly out to New York to go film. As soon as I land, I go through hair and makeup. They're like, hey guys, production shut down. There's this thing called COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Travis, you got to get back on a plane right now because they're closing everything. I go back home. I call Nick and Feldy. I'm like, hey, I'm home. Let's make a record.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we made our first album in like a few months and put it out in like October, November of 2020. And we couldn't tour. So we just kept making more music. And then MTV came back and was like, hey, we have an idea for another show. Do you want to host it? I was like, fucking sure, dude. And just
asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. What was the next show?
So the show now, it's called Help, I'm in a Secret Relationship. It's like Ghosted. It's kind of like an expanded version. And that show's been on.
Help, I'm in a secret relationship.
So like someone's keeping their relationship
a secret.
Yeah.
So
for
like
some
it'd be
reason,
it's like the side. It's like
one
the side
person.
piece.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, if you're dating someone, but you won't introduce them to your friends, your family. Maybe you have
why?
kids together.
And you find out the reason.
Maybe you have kids together.
And they have kids.
And so we fly in and we investigate and we bring them two together at the end. And there's a big reveal. We've shot 58 episodes now.
Wow.
58.
Yeah. So that show has become even bigger than Ghosted now.
Yeah.
So that show is like.
And Ghosted was somebody would disappear.
It'd be like, if you went on a date, you were dating someone for 6 months, and then,
and
all,
then
all of a sudden they just
and you guys would find them.
Yeah.
And then
it
bring
was
them
fucking
together.
tight.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I fucking love that. That must have been so much fun.
Yeah, dude, it was, and that was like the first kind of show that I did with MTV, and that gave me a lot of experience for the show that we're doing now, know, and it's like, just kind of learning. It's weird, man. It's like the T Mills era gave me so much practice for what we're doing now with the band. The Request show on Apple gave me so much practice for the Travis Mills show, and then Ghosted gave me so much practice for Help. It's really weird, but like, I had to
it builds.
Yeah, and I had to just be okay with letting go and be like, I don't care if someone comes into the studio and is like, yo, you used to be an artist and then you failed and now you have this show. And it's like, cool, well, you're on my show. So
have you had someone do that?
No, not at all. No, this is all in my head.
I don't think anyone would ever.
It's all in my fucking head, dude. It's all in my head.
No, it's just that it's that inner critic, right?
And
it's that inner critic that just thinks it knows what other people are thinking
and just
about
blocks
me.
you just block your own blessings and just self-sabotage and like I'm really good at that. And if anything, it's the opposite. It's like I've huge artists that come in, artists that I look at them and I'm like, fuck, I wish I could be as successful as you. And they're like, dude, you're so good at this. Like, I wish I could do this.
Yeah.
I want a show like this. How did you get this? Hey, who can I talk? And it's just so weird. How life works. The cool thing about the MTV show is, on Help. Season 2, we actually, helped someone who was in the program.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And he was in San Diego. He was sober. And
has this aired yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
It came out last year, a year and a half ago. This dude Gary is really fucking cool. Check out how crazy this story is.
Yeah,
so he's sober.
Give me some of your best.
He's sober. He has a baby with his girlfriend. She won't introduce him to her family.
He's got a baby with his girlfriend.
Yeah, they've been together for a while.
Okay,
he's never met
introduce
him to anyone in her family or any of her friends.
Sus.
And so we're trying to help him. The episode was a complete disaster. So, some of these are like really funny. Some of these are like really serious. Some of these are like sad, right? This was a complete fucking meltdown. Like she flipped over the set. She stormed out. We couldn't even finish filming.
Oh
my
wow.
God.
She was like showing up to recovery meetings that he was going to because she thought he was cheating on her and like all this shit. And so all of this shit, I'm like, I hope
It just imploded.
it imploded, and it left a very bad taste in my mouth in terms of like morally. I was like, I didn't sign up to do this show to ruin anyone's life.
to
mess
I
with
just
someone's
wanted to
life.
make sure he was okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way
yeah.
like it was so crazy that I was like, man, if this derails this guy's sobriety, this experience, I can't live with myself. It didn't at all. And like, you know, it was once again, it was completely out of our control.
Right.
We had nothing
Right.
to do with it.
Right.
But I just it was really the only time that I got someone's number and wanted to talk to them like after everything was done.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's like you show up, you do a thing, you leave,
Yeah.
you're on to the next,
Yeah, it's done.
you know, the next
Yeah, you got the
episode,
next
you're
episode.
filming in the next city and stuff. Well, with him, like we couldn't even finish filming. So like I had to FaceTime him a couple months later and like see how he was. And he's fucking killing it now. He got married to like somebody else.
Wow.
He's like doing the
Hell
whole fucking
yeah.
thing, still sober,
Yeah.
still sponsoring people.
So it ended up being a good thing for him.
Great thing.
Like it exposed
Fucking
like all
great
sorts
thing.
of
Yeah, great thing. So I'm at a gun store in Las Vegas.
This is,
Okay.
this is a good intro to a story.
Yeah, that is.
I'm
that's
at a
great-
gun store.
I'm at a gun store in Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
In Las Vegas. And this dude is like talking to me. He works there, and we're just talking, and he's like, dude, you look so familiar. And he's like, did you go to this high school? I'm like, nah. And he's like, oh, dude, I know exactly how I know you. I'm like, okay. And he's
You're
like,
expecting one of the shows or
and
something,
he's like,
right? Or like,
you shot this TV show with my friend. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, no. I was babysitting his kid in the bedroom at the house while you guys were filming.
oh no.
It
And
was
I'm like,
Gary's friend.
who's your friend? And he's like, Gary.
No,
and I'm
shut
like,
up.
dude, he ended up being in the program too. He's fucking sober. He's killing it. Lives in
Wow.
Vegas. We fucking take a photo together, send it to
Send to
Gary,
Gary.
and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
fills me in on like because now it's like 2 years, a year and a
Yeah,
half, 2
yeah.
years since we shot the episode. So he just fills me in on everything Gary. And it's just like a really, really cool
That's
moment.
so cool.
That's dope.
Just weird.
Wow.
What was the craziest story on Ghosted?
Ghosted.
I feel like Ghosted would be like such a like interesting. Like I want to watch it. So
oh
bad.
man, I'm trying to think.
You should. I don't know if they have it on. You can probably find
It's
it
on.
somewhere.
It's on like. It's on Amazon. It's on Paramount Plus. It's on all that
Okay,
stuff.
it's
The
on-
streaming
What was your most shocking,
for Ghosted. I'm trying to think.
or any of them? Just like other than Gary, like what was the most shocking?
So on Help, I'm in a secret relationship. It also the show has a TikTok that like is fucking crushing it right now.
yeah.
Really?
Season 2, there was a guy who we were helping. He had a best friend of 20 years. It's not just romantic. It's like, so these two dudes have been best friends since they were little kids.
Mhm.
His best friend starts acting super weird. He hits us up. He's like, I need to figure out what's going on. Turns out his best friend is living with and dating a doll.
Oh.
Oh, interesting.
And he brought the doll out.
Mm.
So I mean, so you guys are investigating this,
Yeah.
and then you uncover this.
Oh yeah, because we don't know.
and you're like,
Right.
what?
Yeah, no, bro,
You're like-
we had to stop down. Like
Yeah.
I, if you watch the episode, I'm like eating my hand. I'm like my
Yeah, yeah.
hands in my mouth, so I'm not
Yeah.
like laughing.
Yeah.
And dude, it's just like, what the fuck?
So you bring the two best friends together to get the one to
Uh-huh,
tell
and then he's
him,
like,
I'm
yeah.
in love with a doll.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And so he brings the doll out, and it's crazy.
We
last
live in a
season,
society. You know
Yeah,
what
we
I mean?
do. We
Last
do.
season, this chick was hiding her boyfriend or fiance because he was vegan and she loved to eat meat. So she was like, he wasn't allowed to go to her house because she would like stash like
Meat.
beef jerky and fucking like chicken stuff.
I don't blame her.
Fucking weirdo. Like, dude, just wild. Like this mom had us go to Detroit to like find out why her son had been like hiding her and like blocked her on social and like wouldn't answer her phone calls. And she had a podcast.
Mhm.
He was fucking his mom's podcast co-host best friend.
Oh.
And so he brought her out into the barbershop that we were at. Like,
That's like Maury. That's like
it
some
was,
Jerry
it was
Springer
fucking
shit.
crazy,
So
dude.
good.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's like stuff like that. But then it's like also like, you know, it's serious stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know, someone's engaged and like they can't have kids and they feel like their fiance was going to leave them because of it. Right. And like serious shit, health issues,
Right.
you know, familial issues, addiction issues. So like, yeah, there is the salacious kind of dramatic, like,
Right.
whoa.
Right. Yeah.
But then, you know, you're also like dealing with real people and
Right.
like
real lives.
kids,
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's a wild, I never thought that
You'd be
That
doing
would
this in
happen?
your life. Yeah.
never thought that.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, said yes to an opportunity and it's led
Yeah.
to this beautiful thing. And
That's
it's
so
cool because
cool.
like people come to girlfriend shows who only know me from the TV show,
Yeah.
right? They see the TV show and maybe I'm wearing like a girlfriend
Yeah.
shirt or
Yeah,
they go and
cross
look,
promotes.
they go
It's
and
just-
look
yeah,
up
yeah.
like, oh, what else does he do? Oh, he's in a band. Oh, I like his band. Or people who know my band are like, oh, you have a show on MTV? Like
Yeah.
artists come on my Apple Music show and they're like, I love your MTV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
Asking for help was one of the greatest choices I've made to overcome my addiction.
If you or a loved one that you know is struggling with addiction, don't hesitate. You can reach out to any of us at any time to find help. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, you're a man of
Yeah.
many things. You're doing
Yeah.
a lot
I mean,
of stuff.
yeah, I feel like I've talked a lot about myself. I know I'm gonna leave and be like, fuck, why did I say that? Why did I talk so much
no.
about that?
What are you talking about?
Well, like I
It's
think
amazing,
what
man.
what you guys are doing is really
Yeah.
cool too. And like the fact that somebody can turn this on
Yeah.
who might be struggling, like maybe today's the day they're like, you know what, this shit isn't worth it. Like,
Yeah.
fuck this, dude. All my
Right.
other friends are out tonight. They're fucking drinking. I'm lame. I need to fucking get back to the cool guy that I was. And like, they're going to go blow their life up and like,
Right.
they can listen
Maybe
to
they're
something
going to
like
watch
this.
this
Yeah, your episode.
and hear that you're sober
Yeah.
and you walk through that story, right? And that's kind of our whole premise here, right? It's
Exactly.
like, one, you know, getting over impossible circumstances,
Yeah.
right? Like you were born and raised in Riverside, where, like you said, nobody gets to this place. You know what I mean? And you make it out and you're fucking horribly addicted and you're fucking using like all this shit. And then you get sober and you still have a super fucking rad life.
Yeah.
I got really lucky,
Like,
man.
and if anything, you got sober and your life got even
Even better.
fucking more rad.
Right.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's so fucking dope.
Yeah, I can like recall like when I think about all of the times where I could have died just from being a teenager, just
Right.
doing stupid shit,
Yeah.
you know, like snorting Oxycontin and like taking ecstasy or
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
dude, I could have
Or
fucking
30 fools with baseball bats
you know,
in the
but
back
like,
of, you know
dude,
what I mean?
there's so many, or like, you know, getting pulled over and I had, you know, 14 grams of Coke and a scale separately bagged out in my
Right.
car.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like at 17, like
Right.
I'd be in fucking prison.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I got so lucky. God was looking out
Yeah.
for me every step of the way. And like, I don't ever want any of that chaos again.
Right.
I feel so blessed that like I got to get out of that and I'm not stuck in this like loop. And yeah, there's also, dude, it's so cool now that we have things like this. Like there's so many people now who also are talking about their sobriety,
Right.
right? It's not really like a secret.
Yeah.
No.
It's
I
like,
think the
it
more
used
that-
to be like
yeah.
a thing where like, you know, maybe you had a keychain,
Mhm.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're a friend of Bill's.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like tip of the hat to you, sir. Like, let's not talk. And then it's like,
tip of
dude,
the hat, do you, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
but like now, dude, we'll come on and we'll talk for 2 hours about this.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
dope.
I think the
It's
more
really
people
dope.
that talk openly about it, the more people are inspired to do so.
Right.
And then it's not this fucking stigmatized thing anymore. And people aren't hiding. I know I was like a functional addict living a double life. And I was very alone in my addiction where nobody knew for so long.
Yeah.
So now I'm like the opposite. Now I talk to like millions of people about it on a daily basis almost. And it's changed my life and the people that I have gotten messages from and like stuff that it's been able to help them. I'm like, there's nothing, this is worth like everything, 100%. There's priceless.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to think about all that, those like 14, 15 and 16 year olds that like are maybe smoking weed for the first time right now.
Yeah.
Right. That like see a dude like you, that look up to you, maybe have seen your show. Right.
He's so fucking cool.
And like you're talking about your sobriety. And it's like that kid might not have to go down that same road and try heroin and become addicted.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I think sober, it's like cooler than ever right now.
Yeah.
It's so like,
For sure.
It's awesome. And dude, there's so many, you know, alternative brands now, like such an effort on like wellness and like taking care of yourself, where like it wasn't like that when we were growing up.
It was so fucking cool to be, you know, it was
getting fucked up all the time.
And now,
now it's like, dude, like let's be of like sound mind and like, just be here, because everyone else like looks like a fucking zombie. You know?
I own a wellness spa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You do. You literally
saunas
do.
and cold plunges and massage therapy.
Dude, by the way,
you know
I would much
like,
rather want, like, I way want to hang out with the guy who owns a wellness spa over a bar. Any day. I'm like, dude, I'm going to bug you. Like, I could give,
right?
you know? Yes.
It's so dope. But when I was 16, rolling
it was the
blunts
party,
every day, you know, and like selling weed. I mean, never was I gonna own a wellness spa.
Right. It was like live
no
fast,
way.
die young times, you know?
Yeah. And then you live long enough to be like,
oh
wait.
Wait.
Yeah. Think something needs to change here.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Yeah. What do you think you would tell, 15-year-old you that's like watching?
Oh, dude. I think if I told my younger self, like I think if I showed him a snapshot of all the cool shit that I've gotten to do, I don't know if I'd believe it. Or like, I'm so impatient. I have patience tattooed on my knuckles because I'm so like, but I think I'd be like, oh, let's fucking like hurry up. Let's get to that point. But just enjoy, like, I think I would have tried to enjoy everything a little bit more. And I was so concerned with what other people thought, or like how certain things were going to make me look. And I covered it up with this arrogance of like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Yeah. And I was so arrogant.
Right.
And yeah, just like, dude, chill out, you know? And then like all of those times where I woke up and was like, I don't want to smoke weed today. Like, I just want one day where like, I feel like I don't need to get high. But then I fucking, whatever, like it's too hard not to. I feel like if I could have just stuck it out, you know, and just like realize like how fucking cool it is to not, and like how much more confidence that will give you, rather than like sucking back into it. You know, I think I walked around a lot with like my shoulders down and like my head like this, and like I tried to just do drugs and stuff so people thought I was cool, rather than just living in my own body and being myself. And it's something that I still struggle with, dude. I don't think that, I don't know, maybe it'll go away one day. Like when I get older, sometimes I still have this delusion of like, well, when I'm this successful, I'll be happy. Then I got to remind myself like, hey, that's not how this works. You know? So yeah. How do I take me out of it? Take me out of it. How do I go help people and like talk about things, or, you know, go do an act of service, or, you know, how do I go volunteer somewhere, or like donate something, or I don't know, take someone's phone call. You know, I remember, dude, once again, Feldy first got sober. He asked me to drive this kid who was very much on drugs at the meeting home. And I had to do that for like a week, and I had to sit in this. I just got a brand new car, and I'm so OCD about my cars. I'm like, I love them more than like, I don't even want people to sit in my seats. And this kid who was like nodding out and just like fucked up was like trying to bring ice cream and like, dude. And I was just like, where do you live again, dude? It was so out of my way. And I would drive him home from the meetings for like, I did it like 4 or 5 times. But dude, it made me like,
it's so good. It's so good.
Man, do something that, you know, say yes to something that you would usually say
really
no
don't
to.
want to do.
You know, like that
Yeah.
stuff really works.
Yeah, it
It
does.
does.
So
Fuck.
yeah, man, like, yeah, just stop making it about yourself.
Right. Mm.
Hell yeah.
Dope, man. You know, there's a question we normally ask people. Are you happy today?
I'm happy today. Yeah, I am. I think that's a tough question to answer because, you know, it definitely, I think when I'm focused on the wrong things, it's really easy to not feel happy and to feel stressed out or to feel like I'm not good enough or like I'm not doing enough. Right. But then when I zoom out and kind of look at big picture, it's like, what do you have to be upset about? You have the coolest fucking life ever, man. Like, you know, and I think it's impossible to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Like otherwise you wouldn't know what happiness is.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm feeling shitty, do like an inventory of like, well, why? Well, did I talk to someone like this in this kind of way? Did I maybe not do as good as I could have on this, you know, one thing? Am I letting shit slip here? Am I saying bad things about myself to myself? Like, all right, let's get it together.
Right.
Go do something else. Go do something that makes you feel good about yourself. Go do something that I don't want to do. That's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Doing shit that like I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like the man.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it and I fucking did it.
Yeah.
If you could do that once a day, you will be exponentially happier.
For sure.
So find what the hard thing is to go do and just go do it.
God, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Mic drop.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll kind of, you know, end with, what's coming next, man? Like, what are the T Mills dreams, man?
What are my dreams? I want to make more content for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I said earlier, I had so much cringe shit on the internet from when I was younger that like it put a mental block in front of my head to where like I'm still dealing. By the way, this is like something I'm dealing with today, this hour, like this minute, right? I'm like, I have this mental block in my head of creating stuff because I have this fear of looking back on it in a few years
And not liking it.
feeling like, right.
Dude, that's so, it's real. Yeah,
And
it's
it's you know what it is? It's like they call it like paralyzation by analyzing, like when you know you
you're
overanalyze,
paralyzed because you overthinking
analyze,
it. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm a victim of that for sure. But yeah, I want to just have a better relationship with like content that I make for myself because I do stuff for all of these other things that I don't own. I don't have control over. Like, you know what I mean? I just want to have something that I build for myself.
Right.
You know, that like doesn't have to do with music or anything, but like maybe just me talking to the camera. This is so cathartic, right? Like
No, for
getting
sure.
to
Yeah.
like connection. I want to be
Yeah.
more connected.
Right.
And yeah, not a fucking selfie that looks perfect, but like talk about
real shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's like a big thing on my list for 2025 is to like create content that like resonates with me, shit that I love to listen to and to watch, that I feel like will just bring more connection into my life.
Dope.
I love that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks
having me.
so
This is
much.
awesome.
Sick.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. It's a
let's
wrap.